Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make some grilled chicken and skirt steak with some naan, roasted or sautéed, zucchini, peppers, and then I'm going to make a mango salsa, just a pico de gallo, and some guacamole. So just kind of a good kind of Mexican fresh dinner tonight. So let's start. I'm going to chop up a little bit of cilantro real quick. We're going to use this cilantro to season up our chicken and our skirt steak. A couple other things because I want to get that starting to marinate for this. So come over here, just slide this out of the way for a second. And we're just going to kind of mince this up nice and small. And we are going to then marinate, just do a really simple marinade on our skirt steak and our chicken. Some Worcestershire sauce, onion powder, garlic salt, some taco seasoning, and some chipotle seasoning. And then, of course, a little bit of fresh cilantro to give it a little bit of a brightness to it. Okay. So I've got our cilantro up here. And let's get these guys starting to marinate, our first initial start to it. So I'm going to give it a good drizzle of our Worcestershire sauce. And this is going to really bring, the cut down on the fat, bring out, that acidity in it, make it nice and juicy. We're going to give a good sprinkle of our garlic salt. And then I have onion powder. And we will be seasoning both sides of this. So good helping. Paprika. I'm going to do a nice kind of light shake. And some taco seasoning. And then I have some Southwest Chipotle seasoning. So a lot of good spices on here. This has a little bit of a kick because it has some red chili pepper flakes in it. And then we're going to sprinkle a little bit of our cilantro over. And then I'm going to flip these over. And we are going to marinate the other side for this. Because you want to make sure you've got lots of seasoning on here to kind of penetrate through. And then we'll grill these up in a little bit, but we're going to let them sit, with our spices for just a few minutes, kind of soak in there. I filleted, these were 3 big, thick chicken breasts, and I filleted them so they're thinner, which means they'll cook up a little faster, but stay nice and juicy. We're going to give our Worcestershire, and we're going to go back over with, again, all of our delicious spices here. So, garlic salt. Taco seasoning. Southwest Chipotle. Onion powder. That's going to give a nice savory flavor. A little bit of paprika, which will give it a nice kind of reddish hue to it. A little savory flavor. And then we're, of course, going to finish off with our fresh cilantro. And then I'm going to cover it up and we're going to let it just kind of do a quick marinade for a few minutes before we pop this on. Because again, this isn't going to take very long to kind of cook up. I'm going to just slide this out of our way. We'll let it marinate underneath our little basket there. We'll also, I forgot, we'll also have corn that we're going to grill on, and then we'll do kind of like a green onion butter to go over it. Let's start prepping up our veggies that are going to go on the grill here or on our cooktop over there. I've got 2 nice fat zucchinis. So we're going to kind of trim these up so that we can saute them on the cooktop. We'll do a quick little, marinade on them as well, but keeping it kind of simple today. And then we'll also cut up some peppers for this. This one's so big, I think I'm going to cut him in half. I was deciding whether I wanted to do these on the grill or on the cooktop, but I'm going to do the corn on the grill. So these are going to go on the cooktop with my peppers and onions. That will get just some great flavor. I feel like fresh tonight, fresh Mexican, in here. Although we're going to be, instead of tortillas, I'm doing naan because I love naan, especially in the pizza oven. I think it just is, it's like a really fat tortilla and it's soft and pillowy. And I actually did a recipe, my old recipe of naan before I did my sourdough journey, because I used a lot of my sourdough discard this morning to make our waffles. So I just did a basic naan today without sourdough. And I'm going to see what my kids, because it's been a long time since I've made it without sourdough discard in it. I'm going to see how they like it, see which one they can prepare. Looks like I lost a zucchini. There we go. I'm going to put this in my bowl here. Just getting our veggies all prepped up. And I have a bell pepper. We're going to use our other ones. I'm going to just take 2 of these. We'll do 3. Those are going to be for my salsas. We're going to de-beard this. Trying to get all my little prep done over here. My initial prep. And then we'll start with our rolling out our naan kind of for it. Let's tape all of that off. I always forget I have a trash can right here. So I'll just pop this in the trash can real quick. And I'm going to do nice kind of thin slices on my peppers in case anyone wants to put them in the kind of naan pockets that we're making, our steak and chicken naan pockets, but they can also just eat them plain. So it gives them options. Here we go. And then we'll chop up some onions. And I think those are the only things that are growing on the grill right now, on our little cooktop. Here we go. I'm going to slice this through and get this one going through. Take out any of these seeds. And again, these are going to be part of our veggies for our dinner tonight. We'll have, our zucchini sauteed up. Then we're going to cook up our chicken that we marinated in our skirt steak. And we will have them with our homemade naan that we're going to fire up in our pizza oven. And some corn on the cob. Let's get our onions sliced up here. Again, I'm going to do nice, long, thin slices, just a half of a yellow onion. Go in there. We'll use some red onion in our dips and whatnot. Okay, let's get a couple naan. I'll get a naan rolled out as well so we can throw that on while we put our veggies and our chicken on. So this is our really soft, pillowy naan. I make my naan with sour cream instead of yogurt, because I never have plain yogurt on here. And I also put some garlic salt in here, so it's going to have just a little savory bit of our flavor here. It's getting a little bit of the cilantro from being chopped up. But here we go. So I'll be ready to pop in, but let's go over. I'm going to put our peppers on, and then we're going to pop our chicken and our skirt steak on and let it start cooking. So let me get my butter out first. And I'll cover this up. Outside, sometimes you get the flies. Okay. Bring this. I'm going to grab my chicken as well, or my steak and chicken. And bring this right over here. And we'll add this on in just a second. But first, let's get our butter going on here. I've got my cooktop heated up nice and hot for this. And we're just going to put the butter all the way around. That way it will cook up. And I'm going to turn this down. I had it on a medium. I'm going to turn it down between medium and low. But I like to season up the whole cooktop. There we go. So we've got all of our butter and our onion are going on here. Now we're going to add in all of our veggies. We lost a couple overboard. We'll grab these up here. So I've got my zucchini, my peppers, my onions. I'm just going to give them a quick toss in the butter. Bring all of the flavors in, and then we'll let them kind of saute up. We'll season them with a little bit of garlic salt here in a little bit, but we're just going to let them saute first for a little while. And I cut my zucchini nice and fat so that it will take longer to cook. You don't want to cut it too thin or it's going to, cook up faster than your onions and your peppers here. Okay, let's take the door off of our oven here. And we are going to pop in our first naan.
Oh, Laura, thank you again.
Oh, well, thank you, Laura. We appreciate that. I've got my first naan in here cooking up. It's nice and hot. I'm going to put my door on it. This helps keep the heat in there. And this should cook up pretty fast. We'll flip it. We don't need to flip it because it'll cook fast, but we might flip it in there. But the nice thing about this is I don't have to use my little pizza shover thing for it. Now let's get our chicken and everything on. So I've got this heated up at high, so I'm going to turn everything down to a medium temperature. We're going to place our chicken on first because it takes a little bit longer than our skirt steak. Here we go. And then I'm going to grab my corn, and we're going to put our corn on as well. So we've got those. I'm going to slide that right underneath here. My corn's going to go over here, and I'm going to actually turn that burner down to low because I don't want it to be too high when we cook up this corn because it's going to, if you have it too high, it will scorch it. But corn on the grill is so delicious. Here we go. So we just got our bi-colored corn here. We're going to let it cook up. Start heating it nice and low so you don't sear it. And let me grab here it is, my little mini pot. I'm actually going to put this on my cooktop, and that residual heat will melt the butter, and that way we can kind of heat it up. And then I'm going to add in some green onions here in just a second. But let's take a look at our naan over here. It looks like we've got a nice hot. Beautiful. So I'm just going to flip it over, let it toast up. I'm going to leave that door off so I can then roll out, and then we'll grab that one out because I don't want it to overcook too fast on there. So we'll do this, and then I'll take that off on here and throw this guy in.
Oh, you have a question. What's the meat going on the grill?
The meat, we've got skirt steak and chicken. We'll put our skirt steak on in just a second. It doesn't quite need as long to cook as the chicken because it's a slightly thinner cut. I'm going to take off my naan right here. Look at that. Beautiful. And then I'm going to throw my next one on. I'll put our window in. And I'm going to rub this with a little bit of butter. So we have a nice kind of golden color to our naan today because I put garlic salt in it. And my olive oil was a nice kind of rich yellow one. And it's slightly different than my regular naan recipe that I use. I'm going to butter it up on both sides. We've got a little, there we go. And because I ran out of our sourdough discard, so I'm going to use just our regular recipe for my naan today, which will be delicious, but I'm wondering if my kids are going to like it as much as our traditional loaf. Okay, let's start kind of prepping up our salsa here, and then we're going to get things. We're going to make 3 types of salsas: mango salsa, guacamole, and then a pico de gallo. So I'm going to get my big bowl here. We're going to start kind of chopping up our veggies for this. So we've got our red onion. And I peel this off, get this whole kind of top layer off. Might actually use a little bit more. Here we go. And then we're going to mince this up nice and fine. Here we go. And get our little one. We're going to use this for both the mango salsa and the pico de gallo. Got a big kind of piece there. I like to have my onions, my red onions, a little bit smaller so that their flavor isn't overpowering for this. Grab another little bowl. We're going to put half of this is going to be for our pico and half is going to be for our mango salsa. Going to take a quick peek over at, yeah, everything should be good. We'll go over there in 1 second. I always just like to quick peek at my my naan, because sometimes in the pizza oven it can just take 2 seconds for it to kind of go over, but it looks like it's cooking quite nicely, so we'll head over there in just a second. Let's get this tomato chopped up for our pico. And I'm just going to do a basic seasoning on our pico de gallo. We're going to use red onions, sweet peppers, garlic, salt, cilantro, and that's just keeping it simple. So let's cut up this, and then we'll have some chips to do it. We can also put it on our things. So let me hop over here. We're going to come over here, check it. I'm going to add my skirt steak on and see how this is cooking up. Looking beautiful. Look at this. We've got this nice golden crust on our naan. So I'm going to slide this right over here. I'm going to put our butter on it so that it stays nice and soft. Beautiful. We've got our butter melting. Everything's good over here. Let's check on our corn and everything. I'm going to put our skirt steak now on right here in the middle. And I rub it through all of the seasoning. And then we're going to put that on so it can cook up. Got it over medium. And then I'm going to just kind of give my corn a little bit of a roll here. There we go. That way it will kind of cook up evenly. Beautiful. And we can flip our chicken here because our chicken is looking delicious. Okay. I'm going to turn this down all the way to low now. And we're going to let this cook. We're done with this tray, so I'm going to put that over here. Let's roll out another naan real quick. And I'm going to pop that in my little oven. Let it start cooking up, and then we're going to work on the rest of our salsas and our guac here. Here we go. So again, I'm rolling this out nice and thin because I want it to cook up fairly fast. And now that my oven's nice and hot, I'm going to keep that door off so that we can see it as it's cooking, and it won't cook too fast. So we've got this lovely kind of golden color on the naan, which will be delicious because we'll put our skirt steak and our chicken in there once it's cut up. Let's get our tomatoes. I think we'll use one last bit of tomato here. And just doing a rough kind of bigger chunky. I like my salsa nice and chunky, but if you like it a bit smaller, you can mince up your tomatoes even smaller, or you could even put them through a food processor to really get them into more of a a puree. There we go. So we've we've got our tomatoes on here. And let's do our sweet peppers because our sweet peppers are going to go in both of these. So we're just going to take off. And then we're going to check on our onions and our peppers over there. And we'll probably give them a nice quick stir. And then we'll check on our meat and see how it's cooking. Everything likes to go, you know, nice and quick towards the end, which is nice. Things cook up. It's the nice thing about like cooking outside. It goes so much faster than in the kitchen. And I think part of it is I've got so much more space to cook with here than in my own kitchen, which is always lovely. Let's get our peppers here. There we go. Now I'm going to just do a really quick mince over them. And we're going to divide these peppers up between our two bases. And what's really going to tie all these flavors together is going to be the fresh lime juice and the cilantro at the end and garlic salt. But it's just going to be nice and fresh. Here we go. Got that. We're going to add this over into this bowl. And then let's take a quick step over here as we check out our veggies and our meats and whatnot and our naan. Our naan, you can see here, it's puffing up in there. So we've got this nice little puff up there. So it's cooking up wonderfully. It kind of steams it and keeps it nice and moist and tender. We're going to kind of flip our veggies now. Wonderful. Going through here, I'm going to turn this up just a little bit now. We've got our butter almost melted. And I'm cooking these a little bit lower versus on a higher temperature because I want them to cook up a little bit slower so they can all be done at around the same time on here. And then we'll season them up towards the end on here. So I'm going to spread this out. Looking lovely. Let's grab our naan out of here. Beautiful golden brown naan. Looking delicious. So again, I'm going to put the butter on it. The butter is going to help keep it nice and soft and like malleable here. Grab another bit. I'm going to kind of roll it out. And then we're going to check on our meat, probably take off the chicken so it can sit. And then we'll flip our skirt steak and we'll see how our corn is going. So again, we're going to roll this out nice and thin. We got lots of cilantro on that one, so it'll be delicious. Pop it in here. That oven is hot in there, but everyone tells me that I can't feel heat on my hands. Look at our chicken here. It is looking gorgeous. I'm going to take our skirt steak here and we're going to flip it over. Beautiful. And now I'm going to go grab our plate. We're going to take off our chicken and then we'll let it sit because we will slice this up in just a second. But you want it to sit for a little bit and then slice it, because if you slice it while it's still hot, all of those natural juices will seep out. And we're also going to give a good squeeze of lime juice over them to kind of bring out those nice flavors. Let's check our corn here. Our corn is almost done, which is great because then we'll dump our little butter over it when we take it off to let it kind of sit here. So I'm going to bring this. Let me grab this to protect it from the flies. There we go. We'll let that sit. And now let's get our mango cut up, then our cilantro, and then we are going to work on our getting our guacamole made. So with your mangoes, you want to make sure you get a nice mango that's got a good give to it so that you can make it's nice and ripe. You don't want it to be rock hard or firm, or you're going to have, you know, a salsa that isn't delicious. So I always say mangoes are always a little bit funky to cut up because of that pit in there. But once you know how to do it, it's not too difficult. So we're just gonna kind of give it a quick peel with my paring knife here and get out as much of this as we can. This one's a little more ripe than I ideally like. I like it to be just a little bit less ripe than this, where it's a bit more firm, but this one will be even sweeter. So there's, when it's a little less ripe than this, it's easier to trim up, but this is gonna have better flavors. So, you always have a little give and a go. Take out that little bit of that pit here. Just keeping an eye on my naan over there, because it's a thinner one. It's not quite as thin as a tortilla, but it cooks up fairly fast. So let's get this, slice it through, and we'll get this one off. Okay, and then I'm just going to do a really quick kind of dice up on here. Let's get that off. A little bit of the peel on it. And you might think, if you've never had mango salsa, oh, sweet with all of these like savory tasting things. It's actually delicious, guys. I'm normally not as sweet with my savory type of girl, but I do love a good mango salsa. Okay, so we've got this nice and diced up. We're going to add it in here. And then we're going to get our cilantro diced up. Take a peek. Just keeping my eye on my thing. And then I've got some green onions. So we need a good amount of cilantro for this dish because it's going to go on both of our salsas. And the fresh cilantro is what's going to make it really shine. Okay, so we're going to mince this up. And you've got to use fresh cilantro. You can't use like coriander, which is actually the dried version of cilantro. Completely different flavor profile. And I'm just going to mince it nice and small so I don't have super huge, big leaves in it. But this is going to really just give a great flavor. And we can put this on our little naan pockets, or, you can just have it as a salsa. Okay. And I'm going to put half of it in here. And then I'm going to put the other half in this one. And then we're going to squeeze our juice from our lime over it. And get one half on this one half on this, and then I just have to add in some green onions. But look at that. I'm going to go grab that naan off real quick because it looks like it's ready, guys. Beautiful. And then we're going to rub it with our butter. Again, that's going to give it a little extra flavor. It's going to keep it nice and soft and pillowy. And let's get our green onions here. I'm going to throw some of these green onions in with the butter for the corn. And that will just give it a nice flavor. So I'm going to just take the white ends, and that's what that's going to be for. So we'll save this over here for that. And then this part we're going to go into our salsas. So we're going to put half in here, half in here. And then let's roll out another piece of our naan to cook up. And what we're going to do is we're going to go take our skirt steak off. And we are going to check on our corn. I think our corn might be ready, but we'll put our green onions in real quick too. So let's roll this, guys, out nice and thin. Here we go. I'm going to take this green onions right here because we're going to put them in the butter over there while we're throwing this on. So I've got my butter right here. Bring out those flavors. I'm going to put my naan in. And then let's grab our skirt steak. So I'm going to grab my tray right here where my chicken is sitting. We're going to take our skirt steak off for this. And we'll let our skirt steak sit on here. Beautiful. And now what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to leave my corn on there to stay nice and hot. And then we'll take it off in just a second when we're ready to rub our butter over it. There we go. Off, off, off. We're getting down to the final kind of countdown here. Let's get our veggies quick little stir on it. I threw my green onions into my butter here, so it's got nice little thing. I'm going to turn these, and then we're going to sprinkle them with a little bit of garlic salt to season them up here. So it's going to give them a nice toss. Spread them out so they're all going to get equal time on the cook field here. And we'll grab my garlic salt. And we're going to give them just a good shake over of the garlic salt. But we're just going to keep them very simple. And then I'm going to put some in my butter here. And that's what we're going to be putting over our corn. Our naan is looking great. So we'll go finish up working on our salsa. Okay. So just need a little bit of garlic salt in here, and then we can make our guacamole after we toss these. So we put our half of our lime juice in here, and then I'm just doing a nice little sprinkle of garlic salt over it to add a little bit of a salty note. And yes, you want to do it in the mango salsa as well. So we're going to give this a nice stir and mix it up, and that's how simple it is to make a delicious mango salsa. And I'm going to add it right over here, because we're going to fill out our kind of chips and dips. So we'll be using that. We'll put guacamole right here in the middle, because everybody loves guac. Let's give this a nice little stir. Kind of coat it up with that fresh lime juice, the garlic salt, and then the red onion and the green onion. And the lime juice just brings all of those flavors together and keeps it so fresh, but gives you that little kick as well. So we're going to put our pico de gallo over here. We've got our mountains of salsas. Beautiful. I'll pop this over that while we wait. And let's get our guacamole. I'm going to wipe out this so that my guacamole doesn't have a mango flavor. Here we go. And we're just going to mash the guac. And I make my guac very, very simple. I'm just going to keep it avocados, lime, and garlic salt. But it will be delicious. So it looks like we've got some good avocados here. You know, it's always with avocados, you're always like, please be a good one. I spent an arm and a leg on you. And then you're always hoping, please don't have a huge seed. There we go. Get our pits out. And then just going to peel. If your avocado is nice and ripe, your skin should peel off really easily. Grab that mango bit out. And then I'll mash it with a fork. I find mashing guac with a fork works the best over a spoon, because a spoon, I think you over mash it. But the fork lets you break it up, but allows you to have like a little bit of chunk and texture to it, so it doesn't get too smooth. Just keeping an eye on my naan. Again, the naan always likes to go from being perfect to a little overdone in a blink of an eye. That's because our pizza oven cooks it up really, really hot, but that's what makes it so good. Here we go. So I've got my avocados in here. And grab a paper towel. Right in my hands. And I'm just going to use half of my lime on this, because I'm going to use the rest of this to go over our meat once we slice it up. So, and this is a very juicy lime. So we're going to squeeze all of this lime juice over it. Beautiful. And then our garlic salt. A good little shaky shake. And it's got to be garlic salt. It can't just be garlic powder. And it's got to be garlic salt, because it just tastes better than garlic powder and salt. And now I'm just going to take my fork and I'm going to mash through these until we've got our nice base for it. They're wanting to jump around on me. There we go. Once you get that mash, it works. Although this is a tiny little fork, I want to see if there's a bigger one in here. Maybe this one will work a little. No, that's the exact same fork. Okay. We're going to get this. There we go. A little bit better. I'm going to go grab our naan real quick, so we'll take a pause. Beautiful. Nice golden crust on here. And I'm going to give it a nice little quick butter up on there. Again, that makes it nice and pillowy soft, adds great flavor. We'll roll out our next one. And I'm going to throw that on there. Here we go. So just roll it out. I'm going to toss it in. And let's get our guac up. And then we'll get our corn off and drizzle it with our lovely garlic butter that we have, our green onion and garlic butter on there, which will be delicious. And then we'll chop up our meat to go in our little naan pockets here. Okay, so now we've got this great salsa that has a good little texture to it with that guac, I know, with that fresh lime juice. Here we go. Let's add it into it. The lime juice, you got to use fresh lime juice too. You can't use that fake lime or it just won't work and taste as right. So we're going to add this into our salsa, or into our little bowl right here with our salsas. Because we've got our mango salsa and our pico de gallo. So we've got our lovely little delectable tray here. And now we're going to go grab our corn off so we can give it a nice drizzle with the butter. And we'll soon get our veggies off because we're getting down to the very end here. So I turned off the heat here, but I left them in there to keep them nice and hot. And then we're going to go drizzle them with our butter, but those should be nice and delicious. And that charring on it just gives it such a great flavor. So we've got that. Let's see if this is pretty good. So here's our melted butter, and we're going to drizzle it over our corn. And this is going to add just great flavor. We have green onions in there as well, so it's a nice seasoned up butter. Beautiful. And then there'll be a little extra for anyone who wants it. So we'll add this over to our dinner thing. And we'll grab our veggies off in just a second. But let's get our meat cut up on here now that it's had a chance to cool. I'm going to cut my chicken first, and then I'll cut my steak up. And for this, we'll just grab these off. I'm just going to do nice kind of our thin slices, and then we're going to do a nice squeeze of our lime juice over it. We're going to add it back on to our tray. That way when they're ready to serve up and fill up their little naan pockets, they'll have the meat will be cut up and it'll just be easier to do. Again, you could always keep the meat on there and then just cut it up on your plate, but this makes it already nice and servable. Here we go. Get our last little bit cut up. So we've got our chicken cut up. Slide that right there. And now here is our skirt steak. I'm going to just kind of cut it right down the middle first so that we can have some nice thinner slices that aren't so long. And we're going to just cut nice, delicious slices. Skirt steak is such a delicious meat, especially grilled up. It's a really juicy meat, and it just plays really well with like Mexican flavors on it. And it's actually a pretty reasonably priced kind of cut. Here we go. But you always want to let it sit for a few minutes before you cut, like we took it off, because if you cut your meat while it's still hot, what's going to happen is it's going to seize up and all of your nice juices will come out of it. So we got that, and now we are going to put our veggies on this plate, but let me squeeze this with some fresh lime juice first. That's going to really pair well with our chipotle flavors in there. And we're going to go put our veggies on because we are down to the final kind of countdown here. So we've got, again, our peppers, onions, zucchini that we toss with a little bit of garlic salt. So I'm going to just put them all on this tray because if you want to build your naan pocket with it, you can, or you can eat it as a separate veggie. You're perfectly able to do that as well. But it's just one of those things where it's just nice. We'll have it up. And it's like a really refreshing kind of great grill dinner. Let's get all these good guys on here. I know my kids will be quite hungry. They're working up quite the appetite in the pool right now. So, well, I'm sure they will finish this up really quick for it. And then we're going to grab our naan out of here while we're over here. Here we go. Beautiful. And let me just reach in here for my naan. Look at this. Double duty. And we're going to butter up this guy. And guess what? We are done with our dinner tonight. So let me show you guys what we made today. So let's start over here. We made our mango salsa with red onions, cilantro, green onions, lime juice, garlic salt. We've got our guacamole with fresh lime juice and garlic salt, and then our pico de gallo with, our tomatoes, onions, cilantro, all that jazz. Nice little fresh bites that you can put on there. We've got our corn on the cob that we grilled on the grill, and then we coat it with a green onion garlic butter. We've got our skirt steak that we marinated in Southwest Chipotle seasoning, squeezed fresh lime over it, and same with our chicken and that Southwest Chipotle seasoning with fresh lime. And then our sautéed zucchini, peppers, onions with a little bit of garlic salt. And then let's not forget our homemade nosh. See how soft and pillowy these are? They're going to be delicious. We're going to scoop all of the meat on there, fill it up, and enjoy. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just go to that link, search for what we cooked for. So our skirt and chicken naan dinner. And then you can watch it cook along with us again. We also have a link to all of our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gear in it. It has our cutting boards, our bowls, our knives, all the different utensils that we use in our kitchen and the outdoor kitchen for you guys to check out. But again, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.